If I hear one more fucking good thing about Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix, I'm gonna flip a table. People are like talking about it like positively, and I don't understand.
The world needs the Avatar. It needs you.
There is not a single redeeming quality of this show.
There are some good things about this show, but
calm down.
most of it
Let me finish
is,
my point here. Relax. I just want to make it clear that I am not saying this is bad because it's not the original. I watched it as if I was unfamiliar with these characters altogether. I watched it simply as a show that's on Netflix. This show is bad in every possible way. The acting is atrocious, with like a few exceptions. One of them being the dude playing Fire Lord Ozai. He's actually pretty good. The acting, I would say 99% of it is terrible. The dialogue is horrendous.
The dialogue was definitely bad.
The dialogue,
okay.
the writing of the dialogue it's an embarrassment, honestly. It's like it was written by a child.
Insert exposition here to make you feel better.
The CGI is terrible.
Oof.
Terrible. Nah, we're in 2024.
Better than
dude.
the live action movie.
Everything's better than that. I could have made that better in stop motion. That's not saying much. If you want to give one positive thing about the show is they don't call him Ong. They call him Aang. Really, the only time this show is actually good is when it reminds you of the animated series.
Right.
There were like one or two moments where I actually got a little choked up, but it was solely because it's relying on my knowledge of the original.
Right.
There is one such moment that I think they did a pretty good job of it, and it is having to do with Iroh, and somebody tells him he doesn't know what loss is. And then it goes to I'm actually gonna get choked up talking about it. It goes to a flashback of his son's funeral, and in the background you hear the tune of the song Brave Soldier Boy. Yeah. So that was a little bit, but it's solely because I know the original. Right?
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with this show, and I promise you that. They do nothing to establish the character other than that scene. Matter of fact, I was joking around. I watched it with Ed. Shout out to Ed.
Shout out.
There is not a single second of that Iroh knowledge being dropped. Not a single second.
Oh, so
I thought they did a decent job of exploring the complexities of the Fire Nation, and I thought they did a terrible job of exploring everything else. Like, they leaned in on the Fire Nation. Wow. And we got to see more of that. The daughter, the son, the uncle, and all of that. Like, that was like the only really redeeming value for me. But everything else, like Aang and the waterbenders, like it was bad.
It's an impossible task unless they really wanted to do it justice and do it right. But they didn't. They didn't care. That's why you have 20 episodes condensed into fucking 8. They're not going to do it justice. But the real failure of this is that it's so one-dimensional for everybody involved in this show. Sokka is a failure. Aang is afraid to face his responsibility.
He doesn't learn anything.
Katara is a fucking female, so she's underappreciated and you know just not utilized. Feels she's not utilized properly. That's the depth of our main 3 characters.
The Fire Nation was explored the most and the best. And
but that's not saying
that was the only. Well, it's not. Because,
be honest,
like I said, one of the things that pissed me off the most is like Aang, like he's a better waterbender at the beginning of the animated show or the cartoon. And he learns it with her. But in this one, he doesn't practice it at all.
He doesn't learn a second of waterbending from Katara.
No,
in fact, Katara's whole character... Excuse me. Is the whole premise? I'm choking on a peanut. I ate like a fucking protein bar before. I got like a peanut shard in my throat.
The changes are wild. Like, I kind of understand why they tried to do what they did, but I don't appreciate the execution because, again, there's so much exposition and there's so much just like forced. Like, this is the story, and
nothing happens.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happens, and not one of them, like, did I feel grow as a kid. Like, this is the main problem with it, and this is why I'm annoyed that they changed the stuff. I'm not annoyed just because they changed the shit that I wanted to see happen. It's because it affects the actual, like, core of the characters and their growth. If I just watched this plainly, 1 to 8 episodes, I would have no clue where these characters begin and end as characters. I don't know what their arcs are, because there are none. It's just, like I said, it's very one-dimensional. Like Sokka realizes like, oh man, I could be better. I could be more than just a warrior, even though I failed at being a warrior. Katara's like, hey, I'm a strong woman and everybody sees it now. And Aang is just like, well, maybe I guess I'll be the Avatar. Oh man, it's just so bad.
They assumed that people watching this already knew that like the big three.
I don't even think so.
And so
really,
they didn't need to tell the story of the big three. And so they opened up these other storylines of like the Fire Nation. Let's explore that. Like,
and they ended up telling no story. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
All you learn is that Aang is the Avatar who can control all the elements and has a duty.
They tell it to you 17 times on the show.
He's
like,
fucking.
Hey, he's the Avatar.
I was making the joke the whole time.
Thanks for that exposition for the 17th time. It's bad. It's bad.
No.
So don't waste your time.
It's bad,
Marvin.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I'm glad you didn't watch it. And but the thing is that there's going to be a second season because it's getting good reviews somehow. Somehow it's getting good reviews.
I don't understand.
Well, we are starved for good movies and TV shows. That people get like the slightest whiff of anything decent and they're like, oh, this is great. Like it's with like True Detective Night Country. That show was not fucking good. Objectively not good. And people loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. This was never going to live up to the original. You can't expect that. Never did. I never expected that. But I was at least trying.
I like it. I like it in that it could bring some other people into it. Like I said, the uncle story that I talked about, like this is a live action that could bring people into maybe go watch the original, but it's,
I don't know if it will.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like two different audiences, kind of.
Completely
it is,
different
absolutely.
Someone
because
not gonna want to
animation
go watch
is
a
hard.
cartoon. Yeah, like after watching
People into animation.
This show was made for peons that are flicking through Netflix and are like, this is magic and Game of Thrones stuff.
I feel like a lot of people that are on Netflix, like you said, just enjoy that content that doesn't have a lot of depth, that just looks good,
Totally.
that has a nice aesthetic, a nice vibe to it, and it's like.
This doesn't even look good though. Like I'm telling you, the CGI is ugly. Watch like the first episode, Marvin. Watch at least the first episode.
I mean, just because it has bad CGI though, like if like the setting is nice.
Oh
like,
yeah, no,
it's
for
better
sure.
live action bending than the movie.
For sure, but not saying much.
So,
right.
Well, but that's not saying much. But people that watch the movie that didn't watch the cartoon would maybe be like, this is better than the movie that I saw. So this is good. So that's why I think it's getting better reviews.
Maybe. Really, when you boil it down, the main problem is this show was short. It was rushed. You don't get to spend enough time with these characters. You don't get enough time learning with them. It's very fast paced. The pacing was terrible. They're just traveling from place to place and dealing with like a local thing. Some storylines just fucking end. Remember the one where they go in the show, Marvin, when they go to the village that's being fucking attacked by the forest spirit that was injured?
Yep.
They did that episode, and it just abruptly ends with no resolution because, you know, in that Sokka and Katara get kidnapped by the thing that like steals faces or whatever the fuck. I can't.
Yeah.
And literally the whole episode is Aang like learning about Ko and like the other avatars dealing with him and this, that, and the other thing. And the episode literally ends with him just placing an amulet in the dirt and them just flying off on Appa. And it's like,
from what I'm hearing you guys describe in Avatar, the Netflix show, they didn't really focus on like the connection of the group of friends or the journey. It's just kind of like
the
they
Trinity
took out
behind.
everything. Yeah.
The Trinity is in the dust, Marvin, in this show.
So you're left with like just the skeleton of the fucking
Yep.
You know? And it's all filled with exposition because they know like my 60-year-old uncle is watching this and he needs to know what's going on. So like we have to say he's the Avatar, he's the Airbender, he's like they got to say it fucking 45 fucking times, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, stop.
Again, they failed in every possible way. And again, I really did try to watch it as if I was unfamiliar with the source to see if it would be effective, and it's just not. Just literally as a show that exists on its own, it's just not good. You don't get any good real characterization. You don't get really any good story or explanation of what's going on in this world or why we're here or where we're going and why we're doing the things we're doing. It's just like Fire Nation bad, hero, team, that's it. The worst part of the show for me, forget like the characterization, the acting, it's all bad. Everything's bad. But tonally, this show is like all fucking over the place. The original writers were originally part of this thing. Okay?
Yep.
Then they left. And that's when I was like, oh, no, this is going to be fucking terrible.
Creative differences with the showrunner.
But they were open about it. They had said in an interview that Netflix wanted to take it in a more mature direction. Where I was like, whoa.
What the fuck does that mean? More mature. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Hang on. I'll tell you what it means, because my point is this was tonally all over the place. So I feel like they left. Netflix took the valid criticism that they got from the original writers and then the fan base who was like, oh, no, we don't want this to be like more mature. And then they like went back and tried to like change some of the maturity. So Marvin, I shit you not. There are people who get absolutely gratuitously roasted in this show in front of your face by a firebender, like burst into flames, on fire, like roasted. And the very next scene is like you're watching the cartoon with human beings. That the way the acting and the writing is, and namely, Boomy.
Yeah.
That dude. When I say Marvin like a cartoon, like it was like watching a cartoon.
So comical.
So this shit goes from like literally being some sort of like adult Game of Thrones type of thing to a literal cartoon. And it's like, what the fuck, bro? Pick a lane.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, but that's the thing is they say more mature, but if you actually go back and you watch the original Avatar
it's
cartoon,
very mature.
It's very fucking mature.
It deals with mature.
These characters have highs and lows, and they face demons, and they face fucking obstructions that they didn't know.
It was just really bad, and it's bad just on its own. It's bad as an adaptation. If you haven't seen it, I would not waste your fucking time. If you did see it, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of it, if I'm overreacting, because I am bewildered by the positive reactions that this show has gotten.